Welcome to NEXTGames Dungeon Series. Today, we'll be covering Spindleclutch I on the Veteran difficulty, using my Dragonknight. Now this dungeon's final boss is of medium difficulty, but the rest should go quite quickly for most decently geared players. So let's get through these first 4 NMs and what to expect from them before we get into our analysis of the final boss and how to get past him on this difficulty. Now the first NM is Spindlekin. There are 2 main mechanics that you'll need to look out for when taking this one on. The first is the constant summoning of spider adds. You want to always group these up around the main boss and take them out with AoE damage while still focusing your primary damage on the Spindlekin himself. Now this is because his second ability, which is Devour, which will continually allow him to heal from the dead spiders around him, can prolong your fight substantially if not interrupted. So if you see him to start doing this heal animation, you want to make sure to interrupt him, or it really can prolong this fight. This brings us to the second boss, the Swarm Mother. Now there's a total of 3 abilities you're going to need to look out for on this one. The first being the same Summon Spider attack that we saw in the last boss. Now just as previously, you want to make sure to fight them around this boss to be able to take them out with your AoE damage while still focusing your primary damage on the Swarm Mother. Now the second thing to look out for is a heavy attack. Now you will know this is about to occur when the spider rears back onto the back legs. When you see this, you want to make sure that you block or dodge to severely reduce the damage that you take. Now the last ability to look out for is the leap attack. This will knock you down and can be a problem if you don't have healing actively occurring while you've been knocked down. So you want to try and make sure that you either block or dodge this, just like with that heavy attack, and you should be able to easily avoid this attack. Now this brings us to boss number 3, Cerise the Widow-Maker. Now this one can be a bit tricky, as the fight starts off with a good deal of adds spread out around the room. You want to try and collect them quickly, and then take them all out with AoE damage, while focusing on the main boss of Cerise herself. Now keep a lookout for channeled abilities being used by the adds up until they die, and try to interrupt those abilities being used if at all you can. Now once all the adds are down, the rest of the fight can begin against the main boss. Now you will want to watch out for 3 main attacks when taking her on. The first is a flurry attack, which is a quick series of light attacks. Now as long as the adds are dead, this shouldn't be of too much risk to you, but if she tries this while you're still taking on all of those adds, you want to be sure to block to reduce the amount of damage coming in and making sure you can live through it. Now the next thing to look out for is her heavy attack. Now this one can easily one-shot you if you're still fighting those adds and leave you near death if you're not fighting the adds, so be sure to block this anytime you see it being readied during the run. Now the final ability that you will see is an immobilize attack. This is a channeled ability that once cast will stun or immobilize you. Now if you see this starting to go off, you want to try and interrupt her channel as quickly as you can. If it does happen to go off, you can usually break free from it, and then otherwise, this is actually a straightforward fight, and you can quickly move on to boss number 4, Big Rabbu. Now this one is rather similar to the last, in which there will be a number of adds that start off the fight along with the boss. You will want to quickly grab the main boss, as we have done in the last 3 fights, and take out all of those adds with AoE damage. Now once done, you will need to watch out for 2 main abilities from this boss. The first is a grip attack, which will pull you in close before he hits you with a nasty attack. If this is used on you, be sure to block while you're being pulled in to avoid the damage from this attack once it occurs. The second ability is a nasty charge ability, which can be a very devastating attack. It will put a large red strip on the ground that he will soon charge through. Now if you're in this strip as he goes through it, you need to be sure to either dodge out of it or block as he runs through it, or you're going to immediately die. Use extra care when taking out the adds to not get sloppy and get caught in one of these attacks, and this fight should go as quickly as the last 3 have. This brings us to the final boss of this dungeon, the Whisperer. So the first thing you want to be sure to do when entering this room is to pull all of the adds to the beginning of the room. Be sure not to go into the center of the room, or you're going to end up pulling the boss and having to deal with all of them at the same time, which almost always leads to a wipe. Deal with all of the adds at the beginning of the room, and your fight will be much easier. After all of the adds are gone, engage the boss. Now this fight is won or lost with your ability to dodge the incoming abilities of this boss. If you can dodge them every time, you should be able to get past this one and the victory. Now if you mess up even a single time, it can easily end your fight, so make sure you're always paying attention. Now the main ability to watch out for is called Arachnophobia. Now as soon as you see it being readied, you must roll dodge. If you don't, you will be hit with a projectile, stunned, and almost certainly die. Now at all times during this fight, you must have the stamina to roll dodge both during this and another ability that we'll shortly talk about. In addition to this, you will see 3 other abilities used. The first one's called Impale. Now this does a substantial amount of damage, so you want to make sure to block it when you see it being readied, but make sure not to roll dodge for this one as you need that stamina for the other nasty abilities. Now the next ability you see used is called Web Pull, which will pull you in close to the boss. Now if this happens to you, you must immediately start running out of range and roll dodge, as she almost always follows the Web Pull ability up with another ability called Daedric Explosion. Now this is the ability that you always want to roll dodge away from, as it's a massive spreading AoE damage field that once it reaches its full size will explode and normally kill everyone caught inside. Now running out of the range of this growing circle is normally not possible, so that's why you want to be sure to roll dodge out of it to make sure you get out in time. Now if you can manage to roll dodge out of the circle and the Arachnophobia ability every time they occur, you should be able to win this one. Now if you're having problems, make sure you add more health to your setup to allow you to possibly make a mistake or two and still survive those 2 abilities occasionally. That's about all I have to go over on this particular run. Enjoy the rest of the example, and we'll see you next time.